On today's podcast, just-in-time learning and the scale of no return. I have a really interesting take on how I think the economy is at a scale of no return and how most businesses are struggling to keep up operationally and why it's never been a better time to do just-in-time learning as you're running your Amazon business. My name is Stephen Pope, and I'm the founder of My Amazon Guy, and this is the My Amazon Guy podcast. I haven't done a single by myself podcast in a few weeks. Things have been hectic, crazy, and I went on a few other podcasts that weren't My Amazon Guy, like the Quiet Life Brokerage and the Amazon Files and a few others, and it's been great. I've been focused a little bit more on interviews and less on monologuing on a podcast. This is a really good one in my opinion. And the reason I'm shooting this one is because I feel like the sheer volume of stuff going on right now is hitting a new level that's made me introspectively process just the sheer volume of everything going on. And I'm talking operationally speaking, where I have had to do more work, harder work, and deliver more results for my clients than I've ever done in my entire career. The agency has scaled to a point of no return. I'll talk about what I mean by that, but first, I want to talk about just-in-time learning. So what's really interesting about this is, and this is a well-documented concept, while the scale of no return concept, which I'll define later, is going to be something I'm going to coin, the just-in-time learning concept is something that is well documented out there. So if you were to Google that, you'd find a lot of info. So just-in-time learning is literally learning something right when you need to go execute it. And that, of course, is great. Got my co-host coming in the background here. And it's really great to have knowledge right when you need to go execute it, because if you are able to do this correctly, it's almost like the same concept of a supply chain, right? Just-in-time inventory. Now, the irony here is that I feel like just-in-time inventory or supply chain is basically completely broken in 2020. It will never occur again. I believe that just-in-time supply chain is never going to recover. The current situation we have with the supply chain and COVID, we're about to go into COVID 2.0. It is going to completely break down. In my opinion, finances permitting, you should be operating with your business with a year supply of inventory right now. I don't think you're going to hear that from anybody else right now. I'm putting my neck out there and advocating for a year supply of inventory. I have some clients that are multi-million-dollar clients that cannot keep up with stockouts. And 6 months ago, I said, hey, why don't we order a year's supply of inventory? 3 months ago, I repeated the same message, and this is in the middle of COVID. And they're still stocking out. And it's a really challenging problem. But what's interesting about, while the supply chain, just-in-time supply chain, I think will never be able to recover. I think that if you do just-in-time supply chain, just-in-time inventory, you're going to stock out, like guaranteed. My prediction is that Q4 this year is going to be up 100%. And the reason I believe this is because May was up 50% year over year, just on Amazon at large during COVID 1.0. And during COVID 2.0, you're going to see the problem exasperate, right? So you might have had some holdouts, some resistors of buying online during COVID 1.0. What do you think is going to happen when COVID 2.0 occurs, right? Like, there's no way they're going to go to the store and buy Christmas gifts this year. There's no way. It's going to be bought online. So we're going to see triple-digit growth on Amazon this Q4. Now, add to that Amazon announced their IPI 500 score, and they're limiting what you can ship in. And that means that you're going to have massive stockouts of your competition because they can't ship in enough inventory, right? And so this concept of just-in-time supply chain is completely out the door. You will have to 3PL, direct ship, merchant fulfilled ship to your customers this Q4. Like, I guarantee it. If you haven't solved that problem, you need to go solve that like today. It's critical that you have the ability to ship direct to consumer right now. If you don't, when Q4 hits and you're stocking out, you're going to remember this podcast and be like, oh, Steven was right. Because I am 100% confident that is going to happen this Q4. 100%. I already reflected on the massive turmoil that COVID 1.0 hit and the supply chain. And you take FBA facilities checking in slow 30-day check-ins, and it's July 23rd when I'm shooting this, right? Like, there's 17 FBA facilities that I know of personally where I've had a client complain it's taking 30 days to check in. And this is not in the news right now, right? So that's behind the scenes. So I know it's coming because it's hitting now. If it's hitting in July, imagine 30 days, 60 days, 90 days from now, it's just going to be a total crap show. So the reason why I spent so much time talking about supply chain to impact this just-in-time learning concept is because the opposite is true with information. It's never been a better time to learn something at the last second. And your ability to execute just-in-time learning as a business methodology is exceptionally strong right now, right? You have the ability to focus on one thing at a time and go master it, go execute it, and go learn everything you need to know about this one concept just in time when you need it. And you could walk through this exercise, right? So I am going to launch a new product, so I'm going to go learn everything about sourcing, and I'm going to focus on that for 7 days just in time, right? Go place your product sourcing orders, you have them on the way, and just in time I learn about logistics to get it from location A to B. And then once it's finally arriving, I then go do just-in-time learning on how to market this thing, get it up and running, go learn advertising and PPC, SEO. And by the way, there's this thing called A+ content and design. So I'm going to just-in-time learn that. Oh, nope, just kidding. I'm going to go hire the experts on that one because I'm not a designer. By the way, we offer A+ content, $500 a pop. Feel free to hire us at myamazonguy.com. And you could, the list could go on, right? We could go A to Z on running an Amazon account. There is absolutely an opportunity to do just-in-time learning on every one of those concepts. Now, the downside to this could affect your planning, right? Maybe rough around the edges. But the upside, you're going to be able to execute in an agile fashion, focus on that specific area, and let the action dictate the strategy, right? So I'm a big proponent and believer that action dictates strategy. If you can adopt this as a framework, you will no longer try and create a plan, strategize, convince everybody to follow that plan, and instead just say, hey, team, we're going this direction today. And then that action dictates your strategy. I'm very much a proponent of playing 100 poker hands. I don't know which poker hand has pocket aces. I'm going to play them all out until the flop occurs and I see, hey, I've got pocket aces here. I'm going to double down on this one and let the others go. Some call it a shotgun approach. I call it really more of an agile, just-in-time process of action dictating the strategy. So if you're able to execute multifaceted strategy simultaneously, multifaceted actions, and you keep yourself organized and systematized, and really the next portion of the podcast is going to be talking about systems and the scale of no return and how to operate in this fashion. But the last thing I'll mention on just-in-time learning is so basically in today's age, there's this massive amount of information. So just-in-time learning could never be hotter or never be a better time to do it. I think the biggest struggle is locating good sources of information, right? So if you're listening to this podcast, you're seeking out good information, trying to find qualified speakers, qualified information, experts, whatnot. And so you're seeking this information out already. So you know inherently, if you're a seeker of information, you know that it's very challenging to find good information. It's very easy to find any information, challenging to find good information. So that's generally why our clients at My Amazon Guy hire us as experts to come in and fill those gaps and teach it because, quite frankly, it'd be more cost effective to pay us than spend hundreds of hours trying to learn what we already do in minutes. So that's kind of closing out the just-in-time learning concept. So now we're going to focus on this idea of the scale of no return. This is the real meat and potatoes of what I wanted to get to today. And I feel like I'm coining this phrase because I've Googled this exact phrase. I put the quotation marks on scale of no return, and any mention of that exact phrase and those exact words are not speaking about the concept in the way that I would like to coin it. So what I mean by scale of no return is when you've built something that becomes so big and so powerful, it forces you to run the business differently, and you can never return to how you were previously running it. It's the scale that forces you to systematize and organize things, or you'll fail. And you, once you hit the scale, you can never go back to the way you used to do things or run your business. Because literally you can't. You would fail. Your business would just crumble and collapse. It cannot operate the way it used to and has to operate in this new fashion and new way that you've never tackled before. Your scale is so big, the complexities are so much higher, you're forced to operate at a higher level. It's almost like thinking of this as enlightenment, right? Your business is becoming more enlightened and realizing the way you used to run that thing, man, that's not going to work, or man, I can't believe it actually ran that way. So why does this matter? Because everyone listening to this podcast right now is trying to scale quickly, and quite frankly, growing is good, right? We all want profits, but generally speaking, those that are seeking growth are seeking information, and they're trying to evolve. They're trying to get bigger, and they're trying to evolve at the same time, which leads to growth, which is good. So we're all growth hackers. If you're focused on profit, you're generally not trying to learn. You're not trying to grow. You're controlling costs generally when you're focused on profit. And there is a cycle and a time for both of these two things, although they do have a healthy friction with each other. And it's difficult, especially in the first 6 to 12 months of running an Amazon business, to be profitable. Very rarely occurs in a quicker fashion than 6 months. And generally speaking, most people would rather scale their 100K business to 1 million versus try and profit 10K on that 100K. They'd rather profit 100K on $1 million next year versus 10K this year. And that concept, of course, is what we focus on to market the heck out of things, growth hack, get the sales up, etc. So here's the concept, right? Like, here's the bottom line. If you are at the scale of no return, what does that mean? It means that it worked. It worked. Your business is working, right? My Amazon Guy is at this stage, right? Like, my business is working, and it's working at a higher level than it's ever had to work before. So this concept, did I plan for success, is coming up, right? So like, did I put the infrastructure in place to make it work and make it continue to work at this scale? Now, spoiler alert, yes, that's why it's working for me, right? Like, I built out the systems, I hired the right people, and I SOP'd the crap out of my entire business model, and it is working. But many listening to this podcast have not asked this important question. What if your business works? What if your business is wildly successful? What would be the next step, right? Everybody's always like, oh, I'm going to launch products and I'm going to make money on Amazon. Like, that's the theory. Hardly anybody talks about, okay, what if you launch those 3 products and all 3 of them worked and you've got $1 million business? What then? Well, of course, I'm going to reorder those products and I'm going to market more and I'm going to launch more products, right? It's way more sophisticated than that, right? Like, way more sophisticated. To operate your business from 6 figures to 7 figures to 7.5 figures, if you will, is a very different business model, right? Like I went from, 8 employees in December of last year to 23 employees as of today. Like I hired my 23rd employee today, hired my 22nd yesterday, and I hired my 20th on Monday. Like no joke, guys, I hired 3 people this week. So, and the week before that, hired another one. Week before that, hired another one. Not exaggerating. Like I'm hiring that quickly right now. And I'm plugging and playing these assets with immediate success, right? Like I have my operational SOP, and I can take those employees and plug and play them and immediately find success. Now, obviously, I'm hiring employees for experience. I'm qualifying them. There's a lot of explanation of what I'm trying to get at here, and I'll go through a little bit of that on today's podcast. So ask yourselves this question: if your Amazon business actually works, how are you going to operationally scale this? Do you have the financial capital to, I don't know, on your next reorder, order 10,000 units? Probably not, right? So how would you go about doing that? You'd get a loan. You'd get one of those Amazon loans. Oh, shoot, those Amazon loans, they're paltry in size, 30% of what they were offering a year ago. Better interest rates, sure. Okay, so maybe that's not going to get you 10,000 units. Maybe that'll get you 2,000. Maybe you need to go drum up a partner who can help finance this thing, whatever it might be, right? You need to seriously get out a piece of paper and a pen, or if you like me and you're digital and you type 100 words per minute, go into your Google Doc and write down this question: what if it works? What if I operate to the scale of no return? What would change? Write down everything you could possibly think of. Doesn't matter if it comes to your mind, put it on paper. You can organize the information later, write it all down. Every idea that you ever think of needs to be written down. Weird concept. Once you adopt it, though, you'll never go back, right? So, like, I'm going through my day and I talk to, 40 people a day, and I read an incredible 450 emails a day. That's not a healthy amount of emails to read, I might add, and working my tail off at the moment. I'm able to do this while simultaneously thinking about where I want to be in 30 days, where I want to be in 90 days, or a year from now. I have every goal written down, every goal with metrics, next steps, and I have systems in place to operationally focus these complexities at scale so that I could infinitely scale. I am completely comfortable right now, even though things are flying at a more rapid pace than they've ever felt. My stress levels are not high right now. In fact, they're down because I realize that the progress and systems I've put into place are effectively running. And it took a lot of planning to make it happen. So you need to do the same thing for your business, right? Do you have the right partners? Do you have the right players, the personnel? Do you have the right relationships, the suppliers, the logistics aspects, the marketers, the guy that set up your PPC campaigns a year ago? Is he the right guy to have in place today to keep running it? If you hired my Amazon guy 2 years ago, you hired a bootstrapping, agile 4 or 5 employee company, and today we're 23 employees, right? And most likely, if you hired us 2 years ago, we are still a good fit for you because you've gone and grown up, and you're now a 6 or 7 figure per, 6 figure per month business. And we have operationally gotten more sophisticated. We've improved our processes. Like, we're better in class by like 250% from 2 years ago. So did the guy you hired initially, though, let's say you hired somebody else and it wasn't us, and have you outgrown them yet? Are they the right person for the scale of operation, the scale of no return to keep the lights on at your organization, right? These are great questions, right? So like the guy, all of a sudden I'm thinking about this movie that has this exact concept, and now I'm not able to think of what the movie. Maybe I might actually be thinking of the Netflix series with Kevin Spacey. I'm trying to remember now. Basically, there was a husband and a wife, I think it totally is. It must be in the early seasons where the wife had her little nonprofit organization, and the people she hired to build it weren't the right people to scale it at the next level that she wanted, and she fired them all, and then she rebuilt it from the ground up to get it to be what she wanted, right? Like, that's actually the concept I'm talking about. Once you hit that scale of no return, what you hired, what you built to get to where you are is not what you need to get to the next level. So you have to plan for that, right? And that's not easy. That's very difficult. Those are difficult conversations. Maybe you had a partner or a relationship that you fundamentally could not be where you are today without them, but you realize you've got to make a change because they are not going to get you to the next level. That is very uncomfortable. All right, so you know what you need to do, and even if you don't, the one action item today is to go write everything down. What would it take to operate at this higher level that I'm talking about? So my phone is ringing off the hook the past 80 days. I'm struggling to keep up with both acquisition and maintain operational excellence at the same time. Like me personally, not the organization, just me personally. So the organization, on the other hand, is maintaining that excellence quite well. But the difference is that because my acquisition right now, where we're adding a lot of clients and a lot of reach out, is at an all-time high, I'm spending more time in this area than I ever have before. So if you look at other e-com players, they are in a similar boat for different reasons. Take PayPal, right? So like I tried to chat PayPal today because I need to upload my W-9 again for whatever reason. And it was very unclear how to actually accomplish this. So I was trying to reach out to PayPal to get some information about how to actually give them what they wanted, what they asked for, right? And the initial note you get when you contact PayPal is, hey, this is going to be a 5-hour chat wait to get you your information. You heard me correctly, 5 hours to wait to get a chat representative. Okay, second example. I ordered the Mercedes-Benz version of an office chair, and as much as I wanted to upgrade and have a better back and feel good and whatnot, I ended up disliking it, so I tried to return it. Well, it took 7 days for the company to get back to me on that return, and it was literally the fastest they could do. If we called in, wait times were 90 minutes, like just insane. These two examples are just two small examples of the entire economy right now, especially as it relates to e-commerce. Operational strains right now are a real thing. Here's a few more examples, right? So like gold hit $1,900 this week. In the last 48 hours, it's up $100 an ounce. That's up from $1,700 from earlier this year. So it's like continually gone up. And that $100 in the last 48 hours especially. Additionally, silver hit, $23, right? And it was at, I don't even know, $14 less than a year ago. So generally speaking, when precious metals go up, especially gold, that's because anxiety is at a spike, right? So supply chains are breaking down, as I've impacted on today's call. And we've had more than our fair share of supply chain woes this year, whether it was when China was shut down and couldn't manufacture the stuff, whether it was the U.S. shut down because we couldn't ship the stuff because we couldn't go to work because everybody was on lockdown. Whatever it might be, the economy signs are very clear right now. Like I was telling my wife back in May, there was a 0% chance we were going to resume school in the fall. And I said, hey, we got a plan for this, right? Now, I love my wife, but every marriage ever has discussions, right? My wife held out for the fantasy land that everything was going to go back to normal. I bet you if you polled the country, you'd probably get a good 50-50 split on this question, right? So I had a very pessimistic view, and I was like, we're not going to go back to school anytime soon. We need to find an alternative, whether it's remote school at home or hire in a teacher or a nanny. Well, anybody who waits until this last second to realize these questions and remote learning and whatnot, well, if they're trying to find that nanny or trying to find that remote aspect, they're too late because everybody and their dogs now is there, right? So the just-in-time operational strains don't work anymore. The just-in-time information does. But if you're requiring just-in-time resources, that's bad. Don't do that. The black swan called COVID, complete game changer. Obviously, everybody knows that. But I don't think everybody has accepted it. They know it, but they haven't accepted it. Things are never going to return to the same, right? Like the economy and how e-commerce is today, like what we're experiencing in the last 80 days is the new norm. It's never going back. We're at this precipice, and it's never going back to how it was. Ever, ever, ever. It's never going back. If you haven't accepted this truth that I'm telling you, my authentic belief, this truth as I like to call it, you need to look in a serious internal dialogue with yourself. Like you're lying to yourself. It is never, ever going back to the way it was in any shape or form. So when you force this belief set on the rest of the population, when they finally realize, right, and force is probably a poor choice of words, it's more of like the power of the situation. I just read the book Power versus Force. That's why I'm thinking this out loud. Good book. Highly recommend it. Will definitely enlighten your mind on how to think about relationships, things, and why power is superior to force. In any case, the rest of the population is going to realize they're going to have to change. Businesses are going to realize that they're going to have to change. We're going to see 40% of businesses go bankrupt. You're going to see 50% new businesses. You're going to see more business growth than downturn, in my opinion, and especially as it relates to e-commerce. It might even be like 200% growth in e-commerce, and all these businesses that couldn't get off the ground before are now going to get off the ground because they don't have the retail competition, they have higher demand, and they have a good product, right? Every company ever needs four things: people, process, product, and the fourth one that most people forget about, which I've kind of hit home on today's call, is systems, right? You have to operate at a higher level. Businesses are making decisions today that are rapidly changing. They can't keep up. And the reason I keep putting systems in place, hiring up, and I spent 200 hours in the last 90 days systematizing things so that I could hire up, so that I could have a scientific method to build a culture that I would be proud of, to classify candidates, build a profile to hire the right people to execute my vision, who I could plug and play into the system that we've talked about. And I'm very proud of these things. So my Amazon guy, we're at a scale of no return. We are evolving and getting bigger at a rapid pace and exceptionally succeeding on these questions. And I hope that you've taken away from this podcast today that you can do it too. It's not going to be easy. It will require massive amount of changes, and change is uncomfortable, but it is delightful to me. I love change. I love always evolving. I'm a big believer in evolving. I also want to get bigger, though. It's very difficult to do both at the same time. If you're going to be honest with yourself, much easier to either just get bigger or just evolve, but doing it at the same time, very, very difficult. But here's the nice thing. If you accept that both are good and you go adopt the systems that you need to get in place to go make those two things happen, you're going to have exceptional amounts of success. And so I hope, if you haven't hired us yet at My Amazon Guy, you'll give us a look. My name is Stephen Pope. I'm the founder of My Amazon Guy, and this was my podcast on just-in-time learning and the scale of no return and how you operationally must make these changes to run your Amazon business. Feel free to subscribe. Hit that subscribe button right now. Tell 2 other people about our podcast. Maybe give us a nice review on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, wherever you're listening to us today, and help us spread that word. You can always reach out to me, Stephen, at myamazonguy.com, or contact us at myamazonguy.com today. That's the My Amazon Guy podcast, and I was your host, Stephen Pope.